I heard faint laughter coming from her room. Room 7. Slowly, I opened the door and saw her sitting on her bed, whispering as if talking to someone. I asked, "Who are you talking to?" Her response was so shocking and terrifying that I felt a fear I had never experienced before. My name is Mike. I'm a father to a small family consisting of my wife, Elise, and my 6-year-old daughter, Naya. 3 months ago, we moved into an old house located on the outskirts of town. The house was abandoned, and its price was surprisingly low compared to other homes. I saw it as an opportunity for a fresh start. Little did I know that this decision would lead us into a nightmare we'd never forget. From the moment I entered the house, I felt something was off. The air was heavy, and the house exuded an eerie vibe I couldn't explain. The condition of the house didn't help. It was in disrepair, with dusty floors and cobwebs in every corner. But what scared me wasn't the house's state. It was an overwhelming sense of danger, as if I was being warned. I dismissed the feeling, convincing myself it was just nerves from moving. While Elise and I were cleaning and arranging the house, we noticed something unusual. Each room had a number. It was odd, but we didn't think much of it. Naya's room was number 7. It was a simple room with white walls and a window overlooking the nearby forest. I hoped things would improve after organizing the house, but the unsettling feeling of fear lingered. A week after we moved in, I started noticing strange changes in Naya's behavior. She spent hours in her room, which was nearly empty except for a sketchbook and some crayons. I tried encouraging her to play outside or spend time with us, but she always refused. One day, out of curiosity, I opened her sketchbook. What I saw filled me with dread. She had drawn a little girl with long hair and a pale face. Her eyes were unnaturally wide, staring directly at the viewer as if watching them. When I asked her about the drawing, she smiled innocently and said, "She's my new friend. Her name is Elspeth. Isn't she pretty?" I tried convincing myself it was just the imagination of a child. But as the days passed, the drawings became more disturbing. Elspeth appeared in horrifying scenarios, crying, standing behind a dark window, or surrounded by splatters of blood. One night, while sitting in the living room, I heard faint footsteps coming from upstairs. I rushed up, thinking Naya had woken up, but I found her sound asleep. I couldn't shake off the sound I had heard. The following night, I heard faint laughter coming from Naya's room. Cautiously, I opened the door and saw her sitting on her bed, talking as if someone invisible was there. I asked, "Who are you talking to?" She looked at me and smiled, saying, "With Elspeth." "She's here." She pointed toward a dark corner of the room. A chilling fear consumed me. I knew something unnatural was happening. Unable to sleep that night, I decided to investigate the house's history. At the public library, I searched the city archives and found an old article titled, "The Murder in House Number 13. The article described a tragedy from 20 years ago. Elspeth was a young girl living with her abusive and eccentric father. Her mother had disappeared under mysterious circumstances, and it was suspected that her father had killed her, though no evidence was ever found. Elspeth was isolated from the world. Neighbors reported hearing constant screams from the house. She had a passion for drawing but didn't use colors. She would draw using her own blood from the injuries caused by her father's abuse. One stormy night, neighbors heard horrifying screams. By morning, the police found Elspeth's body in room 7. Her father had killed her with a hammer and then vanished without a trace. Neither he nor her mother's body was ever found. I realized that room 7, where Elspeth had been killed, was now Naya's room. That evening, I returned home, trying to contain my fear. Elise, looking pale, told me she'd heard Naya speaking to someone invisible and strange whispers filling the room. We decided to sleep in one room that night, but at midnight, we woke to Naya's screams. She wasn't in bed with us. We rushed to her room and found her standing in the middle of it, clutching her sketchbook. The walls were etched with claw-like drawings as if scratched by real nails. Naya screamed, "She's here! She's angry!" She pointed to the dark corner where I saw the shadow of a small girl. Suddenly, the lights flickered violently and the furniture moved as if an unseen force was throwing it around. I grabbed Naya and fled the house. We spent the night in a nearby hotel, but the fear never left. Even far from the house, I felt like something was watching us. At dawn, I finally fell asleep, but I awoke to faint whispers near the window.
Help me! Please help!
Opening my eyes, I saw Naya standing by the window staring outside. Calling her name softly, she didn't respond. As I approached, I only saw her reflection in the glass. But her reflection wasn't alone. Standing behind her was a pale girl with wide, haunting eyes. It was Elspeth. When I tried to pull Naya away, she turned to me and said in a voice that wasn't hers, "You promised to stay with me. Why are you trying to take her away?" I couldn't respond. Her voice carried unimaginable pain and anger. The electricity in the room suddenly cut out, plunging us into darkness. When lightning briefly illuminated the room, the walls were covered with the same terrifying drawings from Naya's room. In the following days, things only got worse. Naya would wake at 3 a.m. every night, speaking in an unknown language. She drew Elspeth pointing to our old house. Elise heard footsteps even in daylight and saw shadows following her. I knew the curse wouldn't end unless I confronted it. Despite Elise's protests, I returned to the house. With me, I carried Naya's sketchbook, which held her last drawing, Elspeth holding what appeared to be a key. The house felt alive. The air was heavier, and the walls seemed to breathe. In room 7, I found the carvings still on the walls and a large mirror in the corner Naya had pointed to that night. Approaching the mirror, I saw my reflection, and Elspeth standing behind me, her hair covering her face. This time, I heard her voice clearly. "Why did you leave me?" "I only wanted a friend." Then an older man appeared behind her, holding a hammer, screaming, "It's all your fault!" Terrified, I turned to look behind me, but the room was empty. When I looked back at the mirror, Elspeth was lying on the ground, and the man was charging toward me. I blacked out. When I woke up in the hospital, Elise told me they found me unconscious on the doorstep. Naya's sketchbook was burned completely. I thought it was over, but a week later, Naya called from her room. "Daddy, she's here. She wants to talk to you." I walked in and found a message carved into the wall. "You can't escape me. I'm always with you." I realized Elspeth's curse wasn't tied to the house. It was tied to us. Now every night I wait for her. She's here, and she will never leave. She's become part of our family.